Good morning, it's Jim from the mavestar Observatory. In this video a bit later on we're going to go through a few interesting facts with regards to what is coming out from these organisations such as NASA, the European Space Agency and other organisations involved in climate research, as well as covering certain topics on other anomalies. But before we do, I want to say a big thank you to the patrons that are continuously supporting us. It's amazing that you have stood with us for nearly 12 months now. As you guys know, for 7 years before this year, we was not on Patreon, and we also never advertised using Google AdSense. So those little bits of money that we get from Patreon and the AdSense just helps a little, but not cover everything. I've got to give a huge shout out to Bob, Kathy, Jen and Doug, and congratulate them on their little fundraiser yesterday that they did for our observatory. They have single-handedly managed to pay for the material components that we need to send out in early January to Brazil to monitor the South Atlantic anomaly and the muons in those regions, as well as the background radiation and the intensity of the magnetism there, as well as also in the south coast of Australia. So absolutely amazing efforts there, and big thanks to once again Doug, Jen, Bob, Kathy and all those people that attended that fundraiser for this observatory. So guys, a bit later on I'll mention the link down there if you want to step forward and become a little bit more proactive and support what we do. That would be amazing. And really now is the time, because we have a suffering of lack of support this time of the year, and I dare say it's to do with the holiday seasons coming up, Christmas and all the other expenditure that people have. But we still need to keep this observatory at least ticking over during that period of time. So if you can help, that would be amazing. So let's get into it. One of the things that we was told is that global warming was actually taking place, and it was a result of man putting CO2 into the atmosphere. But as you can see, there's been a change since around 2005, 2007, where temperatures have started to decline despite CO2 still rising. We was told that sea surface temperatures were warming, and as you can see from 1980 to 2015 at least, sea surface temperatures have declined, albeit very slightly, but as you can see from the chart going back 30 years, there is a decline in sea surface temperatures. So the ice caps won't be melting as a result of sea surface temperatures increasing. What we're seeing is these government agencies and these global governments acting almost in a communistic fashion, where they are trying to first of all suppress the information getting out there to the public and clearly misleading them. If you look at the bottom of my video, I dare say it'll be no coincidence that Wikipedia have put a global warming banner down there. If you just click on it, you'll see that on the left hand side of this you're looking at right now, that you'll find that graph on there, and they start their data from 1880 only. And the reason for that is, if we look on the right hand chart, I've put the red line up the chart where they're starting their data from. It does look like there is nothing more than warming taking place, but they've completely omitted temperatures during the medieval warm period, which were much warmer than what they are right now. The other thing to remember is, guys, of equally importance, is that during around about 1,000 years ago, there was a period of time on Greenland that supported agriculture for Vikings. It's clearly mentioned there in the medieval warm period, but 400 years later brought about the end of the Viking colonisation on Greenland, and that was because of the climatic change. And that gives you an idea as to what to expect in the future if the temperatures keep plummeting on this earth. Like I've said before, I think we could be looking at more than just a mini ice age. because the trend shows us that we are actually on the cusp of a glacial period. And the reason why probably nobody expects that to be the case, despite what we're seeing take place in America with crop production reducing, going offline as a result of shortened seasons, and the same in Europe, is because nobody's experienced a glacial period before, so they don't know what the beginning of a glacial period is like. So it's completely new territory for all of us right now, here at this time on this earth. But the main point is that what they've done is cherry pick the data. They've selected a point in time where it only shows warming and nothing else, and that is very corrupt science. That's not how you do science, but this is exactly how they're doing it, guys. The sun right now is void of any sunspots, and that's very likely due to the fact that the umbria which creates sunspots has risen in temperature, and as a result those magnetic intensities fail to get going, which creates in turn the sunspots. And that's been the case for quite some time now, and I know that these experts would say that, you know, we are going to have, like they have done recently, a larger solar cycle than solar cycle 24. So what they're saying is solar cycle 25 will be greater, but there's nothing in the trend over the last 33 years and the last 3 solar cycles to suggest anything of the sorts. In fact, now some of them at NASA are coming out and saying that it's going to be a weaker cycle than solar cycle 24. So I ask the question, exactly, with all the equipment that you have at your disposal, why can't you make a decision and stick with it? The fact is that we are living in uncertain times, and I just go with the trend. You know, if I see a continuous trend over 33 years, the last 3 solar cycles, and nothing improving in that trend, it's the equilibrium that I talk about a lot. You know, if I don't see a change, then I'll go with that trend. So I suggest we'll be lucky if even solar cycle 25 gets off to a start as a result of the increased heat in the umbra of what forms sunspots. This was something that was promised to happen in 2015 by scientists that were studying the umbra of sunspots, and I think that they noticed there was a 45k increase in temperature, and that was what was decaying sunspot activity forming. So, you know, I just go with what we see. And, you know, the important thing here is as we see on this chart, solar cycle 22, 23 and 24, just over the period of these solar cycles, if we go back to 21, just the end of, you know, solar cycle 21, we can see just a small amount of cosmic radiation, and then at the end of solar cycle 22 we see that that has almost doubled, and then at the end of solar cycle 23 compared to 21 we've got 4-fold. And it doesn't even show you on this chart solar cycle 24 at its end right now where we are, so we can expect that to be 8-fold in intensity, 8 times more cosmic radiation inbound in our solar system as a direct result of the heliosphere shrinking during this grand solar minimum. As a result of that, we have more interaction with cosmic radiation and air molecules in our atmosphere, and then in turn we get more muons on the surface of this earth as a result of that, and this has not even reached equilibrium at this point. In chemistry, there's many ways of going about a desired reaction. You can increase the temperature, it will speed up the reaction. You can increase the pressure, it will speed up the reaction, but you'll get the same results regardless by altering these parameters. It's very difficult trying to gauge what is exactly going on right now, but one of the 2 things we know which is creating the majority of these problems is the lack of solar activity due to that grand solar minimum, and a weakened magnetosphere by 20% at current now. even though over the last year that we've been monitoring the magnetosphere strength, it hasn't declined by any significant amount, we still, as a result of that 20% loss of the magnetosphere strength and the weakened heliosphere as a result of the grand solar minimum or low solar output, managed to gain more cosmic radiation in our solar system first, and then with our primary protective shield, the magnetosphere, had a weakening in that, and in turn allowed more cosmic radiation into our upper atmosphere. This is colliding with air molecules right now, and as a result we have probably 8 times more muons here on the surface of our Earth than what we did only 33 years ago. We also have a lot more seeding taking place in our atmosphere, which is creating jet streams such as what we can see here. Those large peaks and troughs and wideband jet streams are a result of over-seeding of water vapour in there, making them sluggish, dislocating them, causing interchange between polar jet streams and subtropical jet streams over the northern and southern hemispheres, and as a result we're experiencing droughts and floods and seasonal change like we are experiencing right now. This is a very serious time that we're all sharing right now, and the government agencies seem to be 180 degrees off the truth. They're not mentioning the wideness of these jet streams, in some cases well over 1,000 miles wide and indistinguishable from polar and subtropical, like I've said. And it's the case for both northern and southern hemispheres. As a result of this, the cropping seasons that farmers are accustomed to are no longer there. It's catching them out left, right and centre. And I can't help but think that we are, as a result of already being on the doorstep of, from what the records show us, of a glacial period, possibly returning to that glacial period. And what you have to know about glacial periods are that they are long lasting and cover most of the northern hemisphere, and right now we're seeing the majority of agricultural land that is affected over the northern hemisphere changing right before our eyes. This is the food bowl of the Earth. This is what really is the powerhouse of feeding the 7 billion souls on our planet right now. And that is in flux right now. It's changing. What we're trying to do here at the Mavestar Observatory is just focus on that main anomaly which is changing everything on our Earth, and that is the increase in cosmic radiation. This is something that hasn't even been fully announced anywhere. It's just conducted by a few private scientists around the world that even know that the fact that a lot of these clouds are forming as a result of cosmic radiation in the upper atmosphere. We're also monitoring the magnetic North Pole migrate. It's like a wolf tracking down its prey. It is constantly migrating, even at the rate it is almost a mile a week, but it is still progressively tracking towards Siberia right now as we speak. When the poles do surpass that 40 degrees, they will go into the weak field lines. Things will happen a lot quicker. Our magnetosphere will diminish a lot more than what it has done already, and at that point there will be probably 100-fold more muons here on the surface, and our upper atmosphere will be subject to the term sputtering, where the solar winds will start to strip off the upper atmosphere. And if it lasts for any great length of time, it is going to pose a threat to all biodiversity on this planet. Without no doubt, it will do that. You know, we easily take for granted that we live on a planet that sustains life, but that can change, and we've seen that just by the study of Mars and the fact that it lost its magnetosphere, lost its upper atmosphere, lost its water on the planet. And if you don't think that these organisations are taking this matter serious, then look into the MAVEN missions to Venus and Mars, because they're trying to study the effects of that very thing and pose the question, is it likely to happen to Earth? Well, as I'll say to you guys, is the last time we went through a magnetic reversal was 780,000 years ago, and that is 500,000 years overdue from its previous reversals that took place on or around about every 300,000 years. So there is no guarantees, and we shouldn't take it all for granted. And we all should be aware of what the governments are saying with regards to this anomaly that's taking place, because they may well have all the cards, and it might be their agenda to make sure that you don't get those key pieces of information which could enable you and your family's continuity to survive. You know, I can't emphasize that enough. Yeah, we're going to do all we can here at the Mavestar Observatory, and it is despite whatever help we get from, you know, our subscribers, and it is running low, dangerously low, the funds that we're getting. You know, we need a little bit more support from you guys out there. You know, you need to be a bit more proactive. You know, there's a lot of work that we're trying to put in, you know, here to make sure we get the information with regards to cosmic radiation, muons, background radiation, and magnetic intensities all around this world. You know, we've took it upon ourselves to do it, and, you know, some people have said it's been an amazing, massive effort that you've done, Gene. You know, building this equipment, programming the equipment, getting it out there. You know, it is, for one person, a great deal, trust me guys, you know, but I'm committed to continuing to do this. So long as I can keep getting supported, that's what I'll do, you know. I'm going to mention the links down there, guys, if you want to support us. Support us on Patreon or PayPal. It's entirely up to you, but the main thing is that we get support so we can continue doing what we're doing here at the observatory. And that really is all. You know, have an amazing day, and I'll catch up with you at some point in the week. And please don't take this for granted.